If you teach AP Literature, you probably already know an uncomfortable truth, which is the exam doesn't actually measure the kind of work most ELA classrooms spend time on. The prose analysis task is not about theme charts, symbolism packets, or long unit familiarity. What FRQ2 is really asking is whether a student can pick up a passage they've never seen before, read it under time pressure, and explain how an author's choices create tension and meaning. And unless students are explicitly trained to make that reasoning move, most of them aren't going to do it, even the strongest readers. I am Dr. Whitney Koster's professor of English, and here's the part most AP teachers are never told. The prose analysis task is not a reading test, it's a reasoning test. The College Board already knows students can summarize and spot metaphor. What they're measuring is whether a student can choose a single detail, so a tonal shift, a change in pacing, a fragment of dialogue, a moment of interiority, and articulate exactly what that detail is doing to the emotional, psychological, or ethical landscape of the passage. When students learn that movement, their writing changes almost overnight. Teachers using this method tell me they see measurable improvement in commentary within a week because students finally understand what the exam actually wants. And part of the reason teachers struggle is not because they're not brilliant educators. I mean, come on, AP teachers are some of the most skilled, adaptable thinkers in the profession. It's because almost no one trains teachers in the logic of this exam. Most AP teachers inherit the course. They're often handed a binder, a textbook, and a College Board login and told good luck. They were never taught the cognitive mechanics of commentary. They were never shown how AP passages are constructed to create pressure. They were never given a method to train students to think interpretively in real time. So understandably, teachers revert to what they learned in college: theme-first lectures, big ideas, long units. None of that is wrong, but none of it prepares students for what the exam actually measures. And because AP teachers have so little time, they end up reinventing the wheel every week. So today's video has two purposes. First, I'm going to show you how to train the exact reasoning the exam rewards, the cognitive movement from method to function to tension to meaning, using short fiction. By the end of this video, you will be able to walk into class tomorrow and teach commentary with more clarity and confidence than ever before. And second, I want to introduce you to the resource that this entire approach comes from. I have written a comprehensive AP Lit Prose analysis teacher guide built around 15 core short stories, not random selections, but text chosen because each one teaches a major pressure pattern the AP exam relies on: contradiction, structural escalation, tonal misdirection, psychological pivot, unreliable interiority, environmental pressure, minimalism and subtext, and narrative exposure. The guide applies the same interpretive method across all 15 stories in a consistent, replicable way, so students build real muscle memory instead of relearning a new approach every week. Inside the guide, you will find step-by-step routines, curated AP-style passages, modeled commentary, tension maps, micro FRQ2 paragraphs, annotation frameworks, multiple choice sets written with AP logic, and diagnostic tools for shifting students away from theme-first writing. And because so many students asked for a version themselves that they could use independently, I also created a student edition with the same stories and the same exam-aligned reasoning. Before we go any further, I want to reassure you that everything in this video stands completely on its own. You can take these ideas and use them tomorrow. And if you want even more support, I also have a free YouTube lecture for each of the 15 core stories, pure literary analysis, perfect for strengthening your background knowledge or enriching your students' understanding. Now, with that foundation in place, let's begin by pulling back the curtain on the exam itself. FRQ2 is built on several assumptions about student behavior. The exam assumes students will freeze when a passage looks ordinary or quiet. It assumes they won't track emotional movement unless they've been trained to. It assumes they'll identify a device and then stop instead of explaining its function. It also assumes they'll leap to theme instead of showing how meaning emerges from pressure. And it assumes they've been conditioned to read passively rather than interpretively. That's why AP passages so often open with calm scenes, polite conversations, or surfaces that look deceptively neutral, because the exam is separating readers who rely on general ideas from readers who can follow tension. A perfect example of this is the opening of Shirley Jackson's The Lottery. Teachers often say their students don't get tone, but tone is not actually the problem. Students know how to label tone. What they don't understand is how tone functions. They treat it as a vocabulary word instead of a strategic choice that shapes reader expectation. So instead of asking students, what is the tone, ask them the question that drives actual AP reasoning. Why does the author want you to feel calm right now, and how is that calm going to be pressured or broken later? When you ask that, suddenly students understand that the sun, the chatter, the children gathering stones, none of that is background. It's method. It's the setup the author deliberately gives you so that the rupture later lands with ethical force. And you can model that reasoning aloud. You can say, Jackson uses the pleasant pastoral opening to establish an expectation of normalcy, which she then fractures to expose the town's moral blindness. That single sentence teaches what AP readers are looking for: method, function, tension, and meaning, all in motion, not in isolation. This is the interpretive movement students must internalize. Now, I want to give you a classroom activity straight from the guide, something you can implement immediately. One of the early activities in the lottery module is called surface calm annotation. Students take the first 10 calm descriptive phrases in the opening, lines about the weather, the flowers, the children, the sounds, and they write one sentence explaining the expectation that each detail creates. That's it. 10 phrases, 10 expectation statements. Teachers tell me that this single activity transforms how students read quiet passages. And this is just one of dozens of activities in the guide that build interpretive muscle across all 15 stories. Now let's apply that same level of instructional clarity to another core text, the yellow wallpaper. This story is one of the most effective tools you have for teaching narrative contradiction, the pressure created when a narrator's stated claims and the textual reality diverge. Instead of beginning with theme or symbolism, train students to chart the gap. Give them a short paragraph and ask them to track two things: what the narrator says and what the language actually shows. When she says she's resting, what does the syntax or imagery reveal? When she claims she feels better, what fractures in pacing or diction contradict that? This two-column contradiction map becomes the foundation for commentary. Then you can model the turn aloud by saying, Gilman has the narrator insist on her own calm at the moment when the language becomes most agitated, exposing her denial and intensifying the psychological pressure of the scene. This approach teaches students how to detect interior movement, instability, and pressure, all of which show up constantly in AP passages. Another major challenge teachers face, and another AP favorite, is structural pressure, especially in passages where nothing dramatic seems to happen. Melville's Bartleby the Scrivener is ideal for this because on the surface, nothing dramatic occurs. It's just a man refuses tasks in a calm office. But AP readers expect students to recognize how refusal, spatial arrangement, and pacing create tension long before any overt conflict emerges. Bartleby's quiet line, I would prefer not to, is a structural pivot. It disrupts the narrator's emotional and ethical equilibrium. The office itself, the screens, the partitions, the confined space, becomes method, shaping relationship and distance. And as the narrator begins reflecting with hesitation and guilt, the interior pressure builds. Teaching students to see those small disruptions as the actual source of narrative tension is essential for strong FRQ2 performance. Minimalism and subtext form another heavily tested terrain. AP loves passages where characters evade, avoid, imply, or talk around the truth. Meaning emerges from what is not said. Hemingway's Hills Like White Elephants is the perfect training ground for this. Students learn to read gesture, pause, silence, contradiction, and pacing as carriers of emotional pressure. When students understand that subtext is method and not atmosphere, they unlock an entire category of AP logic that most textbooks never touch. Minimalism is one of the hardest interpretive terrains for both teachers and students, and teaching it explicitly gives students a major advantage on the exam. Everything in this lecture is really just a glimpse in what you get in full in my guide that I have made. The methods that I modeled with the yellow wallpaper and the lottery and briefly touched on with Hills Like White Elephants is developed in full across 15 core stories, each chosen because it teaches a specific AP pressure pattern. In the guide, you will work through texts like the yellow wallpaper, the lottery, shooting an elephant, A&P, and A Rose for Emily, and more. Everything is going to give you complete commentary models, annotation frameworks, tension maps, micro FRQ2 paragraphs, AP-style passages, multiple choice sets, and diagnostic tools. It's everything you saw today, but expanded, structured, and fully classroom ready. And while we're on the subject of resources, I want to mention my Frankenstein AP Lit Guide, available for both teachers and students. It takes the same exam-aligned reasoning I teach in the short fiction guide, and it applies it to one of the most commonly taught novels in AP Lit. Instead of theme summaries, it walks you through the novel's pressure patterns, the contradictions inside Victor, the layered narration, the doubling between creator and creation, and it shows you how to turn those moments into AP-level commentary. If you're teaching Frankenstein this year or your students are reading it now, that guide will give you the exact tools you need for both the essay and prose multiple choice questions. These are the skills that prepare students for FRQ2. These are the tools that free teachers from the burden of work and confusion, and these are the habits of mind that change the way students read, not just for the exam, but for every piece of literature that comes after it. What I want more than anything is for AP teachers to feel equipped, supported, and confident, and for students to finally understand that literary analysis is something they can learn, not something they either have or don't. If my short fiction AP Lit guide or my Frankenstein guide can help you get there, the links are below. If not, I hope this lecture alone still gives you something real that you can use tomorrow in the classroom. If you found this video helpful, please consider subscribing so you don't miss out on future lectures and guides, and please check out some of my other videos for free help with lessons in writing, research, literature, and the AP Lit exam. Thanks for being here, and I will see you in the next one. Be well.